Astros snap their home losing streak, and Dusty finally gives the fans what they've been wanting, and it involved banana pudding. We'll talk about it next on episode 40 of Stone Cold Stros, and it starts right now.
The Houston Astros, world champions!
Welcome into Stone Cold Stros. I'm Brandon Strange. I'm joined by Charlie Palillo and Josh Jordan. Follow them on X at Palillo and at Josh Jordan 975. Be sure to hit like on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. The full version of this podcast is available right now at places like Apple and Spotify or wherever you get your pods. And all those links are in the description. And this week, we launched our new Texans dedicated podcast and YouTube channel, Texans on Tap. Please go subscribe to that right after you finish consuming this content. Charlie, it's episode 40, just like your age. Wink. It's slim pickings, but which Astros, or in this case, Colt 45's player who wore number 40, do you want to highlight this week?
I have to go with the guy for whom number 40 is retired, pitcher Don Wilson, the only guy to, as an Astro, Colt 45 Astro, throw 2 no-hitters. Right, Nolan Ryan threw 7, but only the record-breaking 5th one as an Astro. Don Wilson then dying tragically to this day. Some will question whether it was a suicide or something more nefarious. But Don Wilson, clearly the most notable number 40. But a quick footnote to that, a guy named Ken Johnson wore number 40 for part of his time with the Colt 45s. Ken Johnson, the only pitcher to this day to throw a complete game, 9-inning no-hitter, and lose the game. Did that as a Colt 45 in 1964.
Let's get that Don Wilson true crime doc on Netflix. You're on board. So, guys, let's get into it. Astros take care of business at home against the Padres. Put some distance between themselves and the Mariners. 2.5 games as we record this. This is the stretch we've been talking about coming up against the A's and against the Royals. You've got Fromber and Verlander going into this series against the A's, who played the Texas Rangers tough, although that may be more about less about the opponents than it is about just the Rangers, just spiraling down as the season goes. I think 6-16 over their last 22 games. Offense is clicking. What do you guys, we actually got to see the death lineup, which includes Chaz, Diaz, and Brantley, no Maldi. So what did you guys, what were your takeaways from this weekend?
It's dangerous on election night to call the race too early. Certain precincts reporting, but until you have all of them, it's not election night. With one caveat, which I'll mention, the race is over. At absolute bare minimum, the Astros have secured a playoff spot, barring an absolute epic choke job. And when you have 9 of your next 12 games, 6 of them against the Royals, 3 of them against the A's, it would be an epic choke job. It's not going to happen. Yeah, never say never. There are exceptions to every rule. But I'm talking about the American League West. For the 6th consecutive full season, it's now just about over. The caveat, unless the Astros go up to Seattle to start the final week of the season and get swept in 3. Mariners have already won the season series, right? They've hammered the Astros head-to-head 8-2. But the Astros start this week 2 ahead in the loss column, own the tiebreaker over the Rangers, lose it to the Mariners. But while the Astros presumably are a team of garbage men this week, taking out the trash, anything under 5 out of 6 will be disappointing. 3 with Oakland, 3 Kansas City. All right, the Angels packed it in. They're a mess. The Mariners have them for 3, but then the Mariners have the Dodgers for 3 this weekend. All right, the Astros get the Orioles, ALCS championship preview perhaps, starting next week. But then it's 3 more with the Royals before that trip to Seattle. And the kicker on this is the Rangers and Mariners still have 7 games remaining head-to-head. So at an absolute minimum, either the Mariners or Rangers must lose at least 4 of those 7 games. And if they go 4-3 in those 7, they're probably eliminating one another while the Astros are tacking on the wins. So it took them a long time to get sole possession of first place. But as the axiom goes, it's not where you start, it's where you end up. And the Astros have not quite a stranglehold on it. But if you're an Astros fan, I think a week ago I said don't be printing up any division championship memorabilia just yet. Now feel free, unless they get swept at T-Mobile Park.
Yeah, I'll be looking at. I was happy the bats came alive, especially at home. They're going to stay home for the A's. It's kind of interesting that outside of the Astros, the A's have the best record in the division out of the last 10 games. They've gone 5-5, while the rest of the division's gone 3-7. So they're actually playing a little better baseball than the Mariners, Rangers, and Angels are right now. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. I love the fact that you got Verlander and Fromber going, not in that order, to start this series. So you got to like your chances there. And then Hunter Brown, if he can't get a nice start against the A's, that's going to be a little bit concerning. But I'm excited about the offense. All year we've talked about, when is the offense going to pick it up? They've been kind of middle of the pack. They have finally gotten into the top 5 in OPS. We are seeing it. These big scores are starting to be pretty consistent. We're seeing the better lineup start showing up. So I'm encouraged. We've got to hear a couple weeks left. I like our chances.
I'm a stat geek of pretty good order, but I don't quite have the chops or resources of the Elias Sports Bureau stat geeks. I don't know if they've done their work on this yet, but the Astros now, in their last 20 victories, going back to the first days of August, in their last 20 victories, the Astros have scored a minimum of 6 runs. 20 consecutive wins. Yeah, you think somewhere along the way you win a 3-2, a 4-3, a 2-1, a 1-0, a 5-0. 20 consecutive Astros wins where they've scored at least 6, and in only 2 of those 20 did they score only 6. It's one heck of a jag, right? All pistons firing. They're as healthy as they can possibly be. Forget about peaking too early. Get to your peak and then maintain and minimize the stressing over the starting pitching after Fromber and Verlander with a mild pass to JP France.
I mean, you said it. And 4 out of their last 6 scoring 12 runs. And with Brantley back, you're getting production out of Dubon that you couldn't have expected last season. Chas McCormick, like you couldn't have dreamed his production this year. He's having the best season ever. And, now everyone's talking about this team with Brantley back. Now you're looking at comparatively the 2019 team. Like, how do they stack up? I heard, the guys from Talking Baseball talking about how this lineup compares to the Braves. Jake said he thinks this is on par with the Braves offense. What do you guys say?
Well, I mean, it's in the mix, and let's presume that both teams are fully healthy. Austin Riley's been out a couple games for the Braves. But if we were drafting offensive players this season, Ronald Acuna Jr. is better than any individual Astro. But the Astros now, with their top to bottom depth, you mentioned the 19 team. I'll harken back to 2017, where you had Brian McCann, a quality offensive catcher, batting 9th. 2019, you had Robinson Chirinos as the primary, and then Maldonado joined the mix. And Maldonado actually had 6 home runs in, I think, 27 games down the stretch in 2019. So if the lower third of your order is Brantley, McCormick, Diaz, if Dusty has the optimal team on the field, that's certainly a fair fight with the Braves. And in a best-of-7 series, absolutely could get the better of the Braves, just as vice versa.
Yeah, if you're going to roll out a lineup where you have McCormick and Diaz at 8 and 9, I don't know how you hope for much better than that. I mean, that's pretty impressive. I'd be terrified having to pitch to a lineup like that myself, but I don't know. How often will we see that lineup? Not as often as we probably like. I would say we know Verlander, we know Fromber are going to pitch to Maldi, but with how bad Javier and Hunter Brown have been, I'm of the opinion, let Diaz catch those guys because you need every bit of offense you can get in those games. They've just been struggling to get through 4 or 5 innings, giving up 4 or 5 runs pretty much every time they go out there. So give yourself your best chance. Get that death lineup in there when those guys take the hill.
Well, the quirky thing about this team is they are not a good home team, or at least haven't been traditionally this season. 2019 team was. This team just broke a 6-game home losing streak on Saturday. But one thing to keep in mind, if we are comparing, that 2019 team didn't win a single game in the World Series. I know it's still a sore spot, but we got to talk about it. So that's it for part 1 of Stone Cold Stros. To listen to the full podcast, it's up right now at your favorite podcast providers. And to watch the rest of our conversation on YouTube, all you got to do is just check out the Stone Cold Stros playlist. We'll be releasing those videos very shortly. And as always, go Stros.